That Indigiqueer life, what a life. All this searching for belonging in worlds seeking to destroy me. Well, yes, sometimes my due dates for that reflection paper just do not mean much. This grief we carry with us, how do I manage it? How do I not let it kill me, fail me, ruin me? Paving the way for you, dear future academic Indigiqueer, is work that is not for the faint of heart. It is heavy work. It is also the work I have been gifted and asked to do. Some days, though, it just hurts. I hope, my friend, you find healing in your heart enough to carry on. I pray that this work does not kill you or break you, and I pray the same prayer for myself. Wherever you are in this fight, journey in life, I hope you find gentleness for yourself. If anything, get the extension for your paper. Healing grief is more important tonight. The term Indigiqueer is a term that I find helpful in defining myself and resisting the erasure of my identities. As an Indigenous person, as a trans person, as a queer person, I feel like it encompasses me quickly. It doesn't tell my whole story, but it helps identify me when I walk into a room. Somebody asked me once, why do you always other yourself? Why do you always draw attention to the differences about you? I think I do that for several reasons, to resist the erasure of myself and the people like me. It's telling a different story. It's, no, I'm not gonna pretend to not be Indigenous or not be queer or not be trans. Like, I'm gonna embrace those parts of me. They're sacred. And to walk into a room and say I'm an Indigiqueer person and draw attention to that is me demanding to be seen accurately. I don't want to be misracialized or misgendered or any misconception of myself. I want to be seen like how I see myself, and by othering myself, I think I take back the power and am able to just embrace me and give you an invitation to embrace me back. This project, Academic Indigiqueer, came from a conversation I had with a mentor. I was telling him basically about the hardships and the realities of my life at the time while I was doing my undergrad, and he told me to write it down. He said, this is going to help somebody someday, and I just began journaling my experience of being in post-secondary education as an Indigiqueer person, processing the grief and the racism and the trauma, and from there I began writing letters from my journal entries, and I was writing to myself, but also hoping that somebody else would eventually get them and it could maybe help them. To express my whole self, all the beauty and messy and in-betweens, is a practice in authenticity. To be able to express my whole self, I must come to know who my whole self is. In the journey towards my most authentic self, I have come to learn that stories are constantly changing. Therefore, my story is also changing, which then must mean my authentic self is also always changing. If this piece of my story illustrates anything to you, my Indigiqueer friend, I hope you see that authenticity is a journey and not a destination. Today I am my most authentic self, and tomorrow I hope I am able to be my most authentic self again. And in a year from now, I hope my authentic self looks different than today's. It's an evolutionary, growth-filled life. Be unapologetically you, you as you are today.
My name is Joshua Carter. I am Alyjah's partner, co-conspirator and we've known each other for 7 years now. We met on our first day at social work, in the social work program at Mount Royal University. We took our diploma together and worked together a lot throughout that whole process, and then we moved in together and fell in love, and now we're here. Prior to knowing Alyjah, I had dealt with my own experiences of racism, and intergenerational trauma, and I'd thought about it, but to kind of a surface level amount. My education as far as Indigenous issues go didn't start until I met Alyjah. Like, I had gotten the school, Alberta schooling level of awareness, which is none at all, talking about Indigenous people as if they only exist in the past and they don't exist now. And so the process of getting to know Alyjah has been a process of understanding what the Indigenous experience is like here in Canada, and just how deep that experience goes. Yeah.
My name is Jo. I go by she, her. I've been friends with Alyjah since 2012, which feels like a really long time, so I'm not going to try to do the maths. Basically, we've been really close friends. We've lived together on many occasions. We do most of our activities together, like camping, hiking. We're going to learn to fish this summer, which is really exciting. Yeah, we're just very, very close. We're like family. I grew up really contemplating racism a lot. I moved to Calgary, Mohkínstsis, right? And we became friends, and I saw Alyjah really gunning for an education in lots of different ways. And I was like dabbling with the idea, but I gave up after a semester in university, and I was like, this just isn't for me. But like with their help, I was able to kind of get back into it and commit to the struggle of going to school. Being in school, I kind of fell in love with the discourse and the ideas that you get when you're an academic. Not so much the system, but watching Alyjah do all of these crazy things like get a master's degree. I've been really grateful to be a part of that, and it kind of has really inspired me. Maybe one day I'll do it. I definitely will go back. Yeah, I never really pondered academia until I met Alyjah.
So my name is Alyjah Ferrer. I'm a second-generation Filipino immigrant settler. My pronouns are he, him, and I'm an assistant professor at the University of Calgary's Faculty of Social Work. And I met Alyjah, I think in 2018, and Alyjah came to a faculty meeting with faculty members. And this was a group of students who were talking about some of their concerns about being social work students, some of the difficulties and barriers that they faced. And Alyjah was very thoughtful, reflective, and respectful, but also poignant about the lack of support we were offering to our Indigenous students. So I appreciated Alyjah's approach, and we had some conversations. We developed a relationship where I got to learn about their experiences, not just as a social work student, but as a person, as an Indigenous person, as a trans person. And in that process, we developed a relational accountability with each other, in that I learned to be a better educator because of them, and they learned how to navigate academia because of our exchanges.
Yeah, while supporting Alyjah, there was a lot that echoed my own experience as a racialized student. As they deepened their understanding of their indigeneity, and I've seen them come to a deeper understanding of moments throughout their entire life in academia that have been racism. I've seen them understand moments of racism that they didn't understand before, and I've gone through a similar process of just there's this racial gaslighting that you get when you're growing up in Alberta, where people are like, there's no racism, you're not experiencing racism. And you can ask them, and I've done that. I've asked people straight up, yeah, do you think this is racism? And they've no. And that's been my entire life. People being like, no, that couldn't be, it couldn't be racism. So to just see them be loud about who they are and unapologetic about their indigeneity and their transness, and demanding to be accepted by these institutions. It's very powerful. It's amazing.
I am learning my relations with death can be centered in love and not fear. By learning to love in these deep and intense ways, I am guiding my grief that needs space into a space of healing. The deaths that have impacted my life could have taught me to recoil from loving, that it hurt too much and it was not worth the risk. There are many things I have learned from the deaths of the beautiful souls that I was blessed to know. To give up on love was not one of those things. Their legacies in my life include loving takes courage, and permanence can be beautiful, and funerals trump due dates, no matter how many funerals you find yourself in within one semester.
The institution, when we say institution, I'm saying in particular post-secondary institutions. I see a little bit of a disjuncture. As a faculty of social work, as a field of social work, we say that we understand Indigenous issues, we say that we support trans issues, but nowhere within our policies and procedures do we actually support them. I've been very fortunate to talk to Alyjah about their lived experiences and how there's a disconnect between what they experience and then what they see in class. I don't think the institution fully supports what Alyjah calls Indigiqueer students and emerging scholars, who Alyjah is effectively. We talk about issues like suicide, mental health issues. We talk about intergenerational trauma that pervades many students, Indigenous and trans students, and how instructors, fellow students, and colleagues take those issues for granted. They know it's there, but they don't see how it can be experienced on a day-to-day level.
Being an Indigiqueer student and surviving academia has challenged my trust in the systems in both ends of the spectrum. It shattered my trust in the education system. Some of the people I've come into relationship with from being here also have given me hope and have allowed me to have trust in people. I think to say that this experience was all bad or all good would be a lie. It's not accurate. I think there was a lot of really hard, traumatic, tragic experiences of being in post-secondary. But there is people that are in my life that have kept me alive through this process. They hold on to me and I hold on to them, and we teach each other, and we take that relationship and treat it as the sacred thing that it is. Because this is an offering to my community so that I can encourage, I can invite, I can scream like we're here, we're alive. And so I hope that this project will reach those people. We should not be afraid of death. We should not hold on to people so tight that we cannot fathom the beauty of impermanence. However, loving is risk. A risk so great, grief is guaranteed eventually. Grief is not something to fear. It is something to honor and embrace when it comes. My grief for the people I have lost tells me the depths of love I had for them and the impact they made on me. Losing people is not something to get used to. It is a natural part of life though, so how can both exist at the same time? I learned in the spring of 2015 from a friend's death that there is beauty and comfort in impermanence. See the beauty in the river still flowing, cry a lot, laugh a lot, love and break and love again.